What's up, everybody? I'm HoopsandHipHop, and holy cow, it looks like we're really going for a week's worth of straight uploads, aren't we? This week has been one of the greatest weeks of all time in terms of massive amounts of Pokemon news. It's been absolute heaven for Pokemon fans, and you know what? Since you guys were so unbelievably gracious and nice to me when I posted my last video yesterday and asked you if I was spamming, and you guys all said no, please keep them coming, that really means a lot to me. So I am going to go ahead and give you guys another video today on the Gold and Silver beta because it's just so fascinating and there's so much to talk about. So today I thought I would go ahead and look at 10 amazing facts about the beta. Now, I actually went ahead and played the beta myself yesterday, and I got some interesting facts from it myself that I just kind of noticed while I was playing the game, but there are also some things I also want to talk about that have been reported that are really cool that I didn't get a chance to talk about in the other video. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and take a look at some amazing facts about this demo. Now, this first one is actually something that relates to what I talked about in the previous video, and that's that Gold, the player character, was originally intended to have a brother named Ken, but it was scrapped. Now, Ken does not appear in the demo, however, there's evidence that this was the case, that you were supposed to have a brother, because when you start the demo and you start in your bedroom, there's 2 beds in the bedroom, meaning that one is for you, one is for your brother Ken. Now, what kind of role he would have had is all up in the air, obviously, but the fact that he would have roomed with you at least means that you would have talked to him and he would have been somewhat of a presence throughout the game, probably, so it's fascinating to think about considering we've never had this type of a character in a Pokemon game before. Next up, when you head out of your house, you will enter into New Barktown, or Silent Hills as it was originally called back during the time of this demo. Kinda creepy, yes I know, but compared to New Barktown, it is completely different. And the other thing that's really interesting is that this town actually has a Pokemon Center. We know that Aspertia City back in Black and White 2 is the only starting town ever in Pokemon that has ever had a Pokemon Center. So the fact that there was going to be a starting town with a Pokemon Center as early as Generation 2 is pretty interesting, and given how different Silent Hills, quote-unquote, is to New Barktown, it's interesting to think about what role it kind of would have played in the overall scheme of Johto had it taken more of this original shape. Another thing I noticed while playing through the demo that's kind of quirky is that basically all of the new Johto Pokemon just use Nidorann's cry instead of having their own cry. All of the Kanto Pokemon have their cries from the original game, but all of the Johto Pokemon, whether it's a Pokemon that actually made it into the final version or a scrapped Pokemon like Honoguma or Kurusu, they all share the same exact Nidoran cry, which tells you that either A, their cries hadn't been put into the game yet, or B, they just hadn't been created at all, which means this was created fairly early into the life cycle of Pokemon Gold and Silver, which is crazy to think about. Speaking of Pokemon, we're going to move over for a sec and talk about a couple Pokemon I did not get the chance to talk about during my video yesterday. The first Pokemon we're going to talk about is Umbreon, because Umbreon was originally going to be a poison type, which is absolutely mind-blowing. It's not like the dark type was originally not even planned or anything like that, because there are other Pokemon in the beta that were dark type. For whatever reason, Umbreon was just planned as a poison type. And this is actually evident in the final games themselves, because in Umbreon's gold dex entry, it says how it wards off opponents by sweating a poisonous gas or poisonous fumes, which is obviously now a remnant of from when it was supposed to be a poison type. And it was also supposed to evolve from a poison stone, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. Next up, we have another Pokemon that was easily missed by just taking a glance at the sprite list of Pokemon from yesterday, and that's that Ditto was actually going to have an evolution. Now, the reason why this is so easily missed is because the Ditto evolution is this guy right here. Now, he may be a blob, but he doesn't really look much like a Ditto evolution, and thinking about a Ditto evolution in general is just so not even like in the stratosphere in terms of likelihood that you just wouldn't even naturally think about it. But according to some of the team members that helped document this demo, that is indeed the case. And what's even more interesting is that according to them, Ditto was originally going to evolve into this guy whose name is Animon, which coincidentally, Ditto's name in Japanese is Metamon, so Animon essentially means the elder Metamon, quote unquote, the bigger Edamon, which is really cool. But it was going to evolve from Ditto by holding a metal coat, likely meaning it was going to be a steel type, which I can't even imagine a steel type Ditto. This probably is one though that is good that it didn't happen considering Ditto's role in the Pokemon community and how iconic it is, but just it's still so amazing to think about that this was actually a consideration. Now, going back to my own personal experience with the demo, one really interesting thing I noticed is that some wild Pokemon actually have the ability to flee, and they can flee even before the battle starts. Now, this is kind of like a random occurrence. Any Pokemon can do it, but it doesn't happen every time. It just happens at random. However, like I said, it doesn't have to be through the use of a move like Roar or anything like that, and they can do it before the battle even begins. If a feature like this would have actually been included in the final game, it would have been interesting and made the games more challenging to say the least, but it would have been pretty rage-inducing, especially when you're trying to catch a shiny or a really rare Pokemon in general. Like, can you imagine hunting a shiny, going through thousands of encounters, you finally get it, and it decides to be the one that runs? Yeah, I'm thinking it was a good idea they removed this feature. Another great thing I noticed throughout my excursion through the demo is that trainers don't actually approach you when they see you in order to battle. You actually have to go ahead and approach them and talk to them first. Now, this is really interesting considering how iconic that old exclamation point over the top of the head is, but I personally don't think this is something they were considering for the final game. I think it's more of just a demo mechanic in order to let people explore and kind of check things out a little bit easier without being interrupted by a battle that they may not want at that particular time. Even still though, it's pretty interesting because of how traditional that feature is, and it honestly caught me off guard when I first played through the demo. These next two come from a Twitter user by the name of Revelocities, who seems to kind of have some sort of extended access to the demo. They might be part of the documentation or something like that, but they have shared in their tweets some original sprite art for some of the gym leaders. Here we see original sprites for Falkner, Morty, Bugsy, and Jasmine, and they obviously all have different designs than what their finals came out to be. Falkner looks kind of way more intense, and it looks like his design was dialed down a bit, while Morty's looks much more plain, and it looks like they gave Falkner's headband to Morty, which looks like it was a good idea. Bugsy, on the other hand, he kind of looks like he's either in a suit as a bug catcher, which doesn't make any sense, or he kind of looks like he's in some kind of exterminator outfit, which once again wouldn't make any sense considering that he is a bug guy, so he wouldn't want to exterminate them. And lastly, Jasmine looks significantly different. Not only is her hairstyle different, but her outfit is different as well, so definitely interesting to see. The next thing that we have from Revelocities is that apparently there was an original female player character for Gold and Silver that wasn't Chris. So meaning they actually cut the idea of a female player character from the game. And as Revelocities points out, she does look similar in appearance based on her sprite to Lyra. It just honestly kind of looks like Lyra without her hat and with her clothes changed a little bit. And as Revelocities points out, it actually looks like, now that we know this, that Chris was the one that replaced Lyra instead of Lyra replacing Chris in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They just ended up bringing the original female player character back for the remakes, which is absolutely mind-blowing. It's unknown why they would cut this sort of thing when obviously it's the sort of thing that would make a lot of people happy, but ultimately it did become a staple feature of the Pokemon games. And last but certainly not least is something that I have no idea why they cut from the game, because it's actually amazing, but it doesn't even technically relate to the game because it's a mini game. If you let the demo run through the title sequence completely one whole time without pressing any buttons or anything, the game will then default to a mini game where you can play as Pikachu running along what is essentially a part of the title sequence and catch music notes and basically play like a little mini collectathon platformer. Like, I have no idea why they cut this from the game, maybe to save space or something like that, but as simple as it is, it's an amazing detail that was honestly so much fun to play even for just a couple seconds. And there we have it, everybody. Those were 10 amazing facts about the Gold and Silver demo, but certainly not the only 10. Obviously, there is tons of stuff to talk about when it comes to this huge demo leak, and there's going to be more stuff as the games and the demo continues to be researched and documented and scripted out and recorded and all that stuff. But if you guys did enjoy this particular video, go ahead and give the video a like. It really helps out. Let me know if you guys have any other particular facts that you know of that would be really cool. We definitely want to hear as much as we can, and let me know what you thought of these 10 in particular. What is your favorite of the 10? What do you think should have actually happened in the final games? Definitely let me know. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe because we're going crazy on the channel. Videos are flying all over the place and it's been a ton of fun. We've got a great community here, so definitely hit that subscribe button and join the party. With that being said though, I will be back with another video tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's actually a collab, so stay tuned for that. And until then, as always, I will smell you guys later.